What if one moment, one stab, didn't kill Qui Gon Jinn and he survived the fight with Darth Maul? During their fight, we hear the Duel of Fates play for the first time. And in truth, this duel wasn't just about life or death, it was about the fate of young Anakin Skywalker. When The Phantom Menace released in 1999, this moment seemed final, heartbreaking, and fate-defining for the story of Star Wars. But in modern Star Wars, we've seen characters survive much worse. Maul survives being sliced in half, Reva survives a blow from Anakin as a child, and just think about all the limbs lost by the Skywalkers. Most importantly, however, we've seen Ahsoka saved by the will of the Force itself. So for this story, we'll consider the following. What if the Force saved Qui-Gon Jinn? After Qui-Gon Jinn is stabbed, he looks over to his more than ready Padawan Obi-Wan. He looks up to see his Padawan clash sabers with a Sith. At this moment, he isn't scared for his Padawan or angry with himself. He closes his eyes and feels the living force rush through his body. For a moment, his pain fades. Sparks fly as Obi-Wan gains the upper hand in his duel with Maul. He slices Maul's lightsaber in half. They then continue their battle until Maul uses the Force to push Obi-Wan off the platform. But the Sith apprentice knows this isn't enough to kill a Jedi. He kicks Obi-Wan's lightsaber off the platform as well. While Obi-Wan hangs on for his life, he can feel his master's lightsaber call for him. As he makes the jump back up to Maul, he catches Qui-Gon's lightsaber. From Qui-Gon's fading perspective, he sees flashes, his Padawans leap, the moment Obi-Wan cuts Maul in half, and the Sith's shocked expression before tumbling into darkness. Obi-Wan rushes over to his master, as this time he can sense a heartbeat. The Force has surrounded Qui-Gon's wound, not yet saving him, but keeping him alive. He hoists Qui-Gon into his arms and gets him aboard a ship immediately. Thanks to the emergency med droids and the shimmering presence of the Force guiding his recovery, Qui-Gon clings to life. He spends weeks between worlds, half in the living and half in the Force, before finally awakening. With Qui-Gon surviving the Duel of Fates, the history of the galaxy far, far away is changed forever. Once Qui-Gon heals up, he takes on Anakin as his Padawan, and young Obi-Wan becomes a Jedi Knight as well as the first Jedi to take down a Sith in around 1,000 years, a feat that allowed Obi-Wan to skip the Jedi trials. On the day Obi-Wan was knighted, he was approached by young Anakin. Anakin asks, "What's he like as a master?" Obi-Wan smiles, half amused, unpredictable. He listens to the Force more than the Council. He bends the rules that shouldn't be bent, but somehow it always works out. Anakin grins, "Sounds like fun." Sometimes, Obi-Wan replies, sometimes it's chaos. As a Jedi Master, Qui-Gon was relaxed, deeply connected to the Force, and fiercely independent. He often clashed with the Jedi Council and was unafraid to question their judgment. This made his relationship with his Padawan Obi-Wan Kenobi fascinating. Obi-Wan was everything Qui-Gon wasn't. He was disciplined, obedient, and devoted to the Council's ways. At times, he even considered reporting his master's unorthodox methods to the Council. But it's that independence, that unshakable trust in the living Force, that could have changed everything if Qui-Gon had survived. Young Anakin Skywalker only benefits from this style of teaching. He picks Qui-Gon's brain about the Council, the Force, and everything in between. He even asks about the Sith. "What are the Sith, Master?" he asks one night. Qui-Gon answers quietly, "They are Jedi who have lost faith. They worship the dark side, believing power can replace peace. But in doing so, they destroy everything they love. The dark side doesn't begin as evil," Qui-Gon tells him. "It begins with fear and the belief that you can control what you were meant to let go." As Qui-Gon continues to train Anakin, the galaxy begins to stir. The Trade Federation's defeat on Naboo doesn't bring peace, it sparks resentment. In the shadows, Count Dooku watches from afar. Once a Jedi Master, he has become disillusioned by the Order and the Senate. He sees the Republic not as a beacon of hope, but as a decaying empire ruled by greed and complacency. But as Dooku's faith in the Jedi fades, the dark side begins to whisper. Its presence offers clarity, control, and a promise of the power needed to reshape the galaxy. A shadowed figure feeds these thoughts, guiding Dooku's anger and ambition until he can no longer tell where his will ends and the dark side begins. For Dooku, Qui-Gon's survival is both a relief and a painful reminder of what the Jedi could have been. The corruption within Coruscant's heart confirms what he has long feared. The Republic cannot be saved. It must be rebuilt. Quietly, Dooku begins to gather allies among trade guilds, leaders of the frustrated worlds, and those who have lost faith in the system. His cause is not born of hatred, but of conviction. He believes a new order must rise, one guided by strength and clarity of purpose. The galaxy breathes uneasy. Peace will not last. Things play out pretty similarly to Attack of the Clones. 10 years after the Battle of Naboo, Anakin and Qui-Gon are assigned to protect Padme Amidala. Anakin is filled with nerves and excitement, and it does not go unnoticed by his master. He warns him that he needs to stay level-headed, and as always, trust the Force. This time, the attempt on the Senator's life leads Qui-Gon down the path to finding Kamino. The Council votes that Anakin will protect Padme on Naboo, and Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon will travel together to discover the origins of the clone army. On Naboo, Anakin and Padme remain safe, fall in love, and listen to the orders given to them, until Anakin senses his mother's pain. He can feel his mother in danger, and he knows he has the power to save her. Anakin and Padme leave Naboo and head to Tatooine. His fear and attachment lead him down the same dark path. He uses the dark side to slaughter every single Tusken Raider at the camp. Afterward, he feels guilt. He had now used the dark side of the Force and felt power flow through him. He confides in Padme, who urges him to tell his master. On Kamino, Jango Fett does not attempt to fight two Jedi. This time he decides to try to make a faster escape. While Qui-Gon learns the ins and outs of the clone army, Kenobi must make a decision. He uses a comlink on his wrist to tell Qui-Gon he is leaving to follow Jango Fett. Qui-Gon finishes up on Kamino and contacts his Padawan. He flies to Tatooine, where he reunites with Anakin in the place where they first met. Filled with guilt and anger, Anakin confesses what he has done to his master. Qui-Gon doesn't react with anger or disappointment. He listens. Qui-Gon knows what it means to love deeply. He reminds Anakin that compassion isn't the enemy of the Jedi, it's the foundation. And he warns him that letting grief turn into vengeance and anger will destroy everything he loves. For the first time, Anakin isn't punished for his emotions. He's taught to understand them. It's a lesson no one else in the Order would have given him, and it's what keeps him balanced for now. Afterwards, the two Jedi learn of Obi-Wan's capture, and they meet the army of Jedi and clones for the Battle of Geonosis. Toward the end of the battle, instead of sticking around to fight, Dooku fled. During that battle, Dooku saw the power of Anakin Skywalker and elected not to try and take on him and Qui-Gon together. On the other hand, Qui-Gon saw Dooku from afar. He still saw him as a mentor. It saddened him, but he knew they were on opposite sides of a war for now. The first time he saw that his master had fallen. During the Clone Wars, their bond became legendary. Qui-Gon and Anakin led with instincts rather than politics. They are heroes of the Republic, but constant frustrations to the Jedi Council. However, the Council decides that Anakin is too valuable on the front lines to take on a Padawan, and instead, a young Ahsoka is assigned to General Kenobi. But that is a what-if for another day. In Episode 3, the war nears its end. Anakin and Qui-Gon race to rescue Chancellor Palpatine, but on the way, they come face to face with Count Dooku. Qui-Gon has waited years for this moment, not just to defeat the Sith, but to confront his former master, to reach the man Dooku once was. Qui-Gon calls out, his voice firm yet sorrowful. "Dooku, you were one of the brightest Jedi I ever knew. It hurts me to see how far you've fallen." Dooku sneers, lightsaber slicing through the air. "You speak as though you understand, Qui-Gon. The Republic is weak, the Council blind, and your loyalty wasted." Qui-Gon's eyes soften, a hint of the old master's calm defiance shining through. "You've always believed in injustice, Dooku, but the path you've chosen steals the very thing you once fought to protect. Look around. See what the dark side has truly done." Anakin steps in, fueled by loyalty and anger. He watches Dooku hesitate for a split second at Qui-Gon's words, a flicker of the man he once admired, and then he strikes. Their fight is fierce, each blow a mixture of skill, emotion, and history. Qui-Gon, though weaker with age, deflects and assists Anakin where he can, their synergy unmatched, showing how the master and apprentice have become a force together. Dooku finally overwhelms Qui-Gon, but Anakin steps up. He fights harder than he ever has before. In the end, Dooku lies defeated. Palpatine leans forward, his voice low and deliberate. Kill him. But this time, Anakin doesn't. He lowers his blade and says, Master Qui-Gon believes there's still good in him. He'll face justice, not execution. Palpatine hides his frustration. Qui-Gon lives, Dooku is arrested, and the galaxy's destiny shifts once again. Meanwhile, on Utapau, Obi-Wan and Ahsoka defeat General Grievous. But back on Coruscant, things begin to unravel. Anakin has grown close to the Chancellor, and the Council senses deception. They order him to spy on Palpatine. Meanwhile, he has learned that Padme is pregnant, and he is still having dreams of her death. Anakin is conflicted, but even though he is now a Jedi Knight, he confides in his old master. Qui-Gon tells him the Force will reveal the truth in due time, and to go along with the plot as he feels the Chancellor is not to be trusted. As for Padme, he tells Anakin he must trust the Force. They must worry about the matters at hand, and if the Force is to have Padme die, then he must teach the kids the ways of the Force. He reminds Anakin that they could have Force abilities that match his own, and Anakin knows his master is right. Still, Palpatine presses on, weaving his webs of lies. He tempts Anakin with talk of power, the ability to cheat death. But when Anakin finally pieces it together, he reports everything to Qui-Gon and they approach the Council together. Windu plans to confront the Chancellor with a team of Jedi Masters, but Anakin and Qui-Gon refuse to stay behind. Windu and others disagree, but once again, Qui-Gon stands in front of the Council and fights for Anakin. He reminds them that if they are to defeat the Sith, they must fight together. Mace Windu is hesitant, but he agrees. The Jedi will go together. The doors to the Chancellor's office slide open and Darth Sidious stands waiting. He strikes first, and at blazing speeds, he cuts down Kit Fisto. Chaos erupts. Palpatine's Force lightning scours the floor, and Qui-Gon is thrown backward. He rises, but he's clearly weakened. Sparks run along his robe, and his breaths come sharp and shallow. Qui-Gon fights on despite the pain. He deflects and parries where he can, calling out calm instructions to Anakin and the other masters. Palpatine lashes out again, a wave of lightning that slams into Qui-Gon and sends him to his knees. He clutches his side and collapses, conscious but badly wounded. Anakin scrambles to him, and for a moment there is only the sound of his breathing and the low hums of blades. Qui-Gon looks up at his apprentice with a fierce, steady softness. He forces a small, sure smile. Trust the Force, he says. Voice ragged and urgent, let go. Your path is greater than revenge. Palpatine senses the moment and redoubles his assault. Windu and Anakin surged forward together. At first, Windu fights in that old, isolating style, trying to control everything, trying to carry the battle alone. Anakin matches him blow for blow and then calls him out with a single cutting statement. Fight with me. Windu hears the truth in it, swallows his pride, and finally they move as one. Their blades strike in sync and begin to turn the tide. Palpatine's power falters. Lightning fills the room, shattering the glass behind them. But unlike before, Anakin doesn't hesitate. He remembers Tatooine. He remembers Qui-Gon's compassion. He remembers the promise of the Jedi he wanted to be. Together, he and Windu strike. Palpatine falls, not by hate, but by justice. Before Anakin turns around, he can feel that his master has left them. The Sith Lord had killed Qui-Gon Jinn. The events of Episode 3 begin to wrap up at Qui-Gon Jinn's funeral. Anakin stands with the Jedi, but his attention remains on Padme. He is conflicted and upset. How could the Jedi be so blind? He blames himself most of all. He had befriended a Sith Lord without knowing it. He questions the Force more than ever, but to him, the dark side has shown him nothing but loss. He saw what it did to Dooku and Qui-Gon. He remembered what it did to him on Tatooine, and he experienced what it did to the Republic. While the Jedi watch Qui-Gon burn, Obi-Wan approaches Anakin, and puts a hand on his shoulder. He tells him, "You're my brother, Anakin. I love you." And so did Qui-Gon. After the funeral, Padme gives birth to Luke and Leia. This time, Padme lives on to see her children grow. Anakin tells the council about his marriage and his children. But because they believe he is the chosen one, they let him stay. Although it prevents him from joining the council, but like his old master Qui-Gon, he didn't want to join anyway. They also tell Anakin they will forbid him to train his own kids. And years down the line, he asks his brother Obi-Wan to train young Skywalker. He also asks his friend Ahsoka to train his daughter Leia. The young pair will one day have to face the loose ends from the days of the Clone Wars, a Sith that was defeated but not slain. Luke and Leia must come together to stop the crime empire ruled in the shadows by Darth Maul. Darth Maul's story did not end with his fight with Obi-Wan. His hate did not allow him to die. Weeks after their battle, Maul was found. His brother, Savage Opress, is sent from the mother of the Night Sisters, Mother Talzin. Once Opress delivers his brother to Talzin, she conjures a new bottom half of his body. Few Night Sisters remain, but they join Maul and promise him power. Darth Maul is reborn, and he's more connected to the dark side of the Force than he has ever been. He unites with his brother, who he trains as an apprentice, and he can feel that soon he will be the sole ruler of the Sith. While the galaxy is distracted with the Clone Wars, Maul and Savage head to a land divided, one that needs leadership and power. The two brothers go to Mandalore and lay low. In a matter of months, they build a militia, beat some of the greatest Mandalorian warriors in combat, and eventually take Mandalore as their own. Maul's greatest victory during this is defeating Pre Vizsla, taking the Darksaber, and acquiring Death Watch as his personal killing crew. During this time, hate has made Darth Maul powerful. After his loss, he experienced hate and anger, far more than Palpatine ever felt. He hated Palpatine for abandoning him. He hated the Jedi for opposing him. But more than anything, he hated Kenobi for beating him. He felt shame, and the shame only made him more angry. After the war within Mandalore settled, Maul installed a puppet prime minister, but controlling Mandalore wasn't enough. He creates a crime syndicate called the Shadow Collective and sends his men to pay visits to all of the scummiest crime lords in the galaxy. The Hutts, the Pikes, Crimson Dawn, and more. Through power or pay, he gains the loyalty of every major crime organization. Over time, Maul controls every bit of crime, pain, and suffering in the entire galaxy. Then we enter the Galactic Cold War. The Republic versus Mandalore and the Shadow Collective. The Republic wants to refrain from starting another war right after the Clone Wars ends, and Maul knows this. For 10 long years, the Jedi and the senators of the Republic argue on how to handle this matter. And for 10 long years, Maul rules, kills, and steals in the shadows. He even begins to send Mandalorian armies led by the Savage Opress to take control of the other planets. Once he believes he controls more power than the Republic itself, he announces that he's the ruler of what is now called the Galactic Sith Empire. 10 years after the death of Qui-Gon, a decision is made. The Jedi and the Republic can no longer sit and watch as Darth Maul and the Sith Empire spread evil throughout the galaxy. Maul's forces grow by the day, and the clone army is not what it was years ago. On Coruscant, it is announced that a group of Jedi generals will lead an assault on Mandalore. The frontal assault on Maul and Opress will be led by the heroes of the Clone Wars: Anakin Skywalker, Jaro Tapal, Plo Koon, Mace Windu, Cal Kestis, Shaak Ti, and Kanan Jarrus. These generals were to lead armies of Jedi and clones to Mandalore with two objectives: kill the Sith and stop the Sith Empire. Luke and Leia look at Padme in their apartment suite on Coruscant, and they had come to tell their mother goodbye before they begin their training with their Jedi masters. But then, they learn the news that their father was to lead a war against the Sith. Padme hugs her kids before sending them off. She stops them on their way out to remind them it is a war that Anakin has won before. He is one of the most powerful Force users in the galaxy, the most fierce Jedi in Jedi history, the Chosen One said to bring balance to the Force, or so they thought. On that day, Luke joined Obi-Wan, Leia joined Ahsoka, and a war was started that would change the course of the galaxy forever. After the first week of war, Jedi and clone armies had established camps within Mandalore. After the first month of the war, a quarter of those camps had been destroyed by the Mandalorian armies. And after the first year of war, 50% of the Jedi had died. The Jedi knew that Maul and Opress would be powerful, and they knew the Mandalorian armies would be stronger than the clone armies. However, they were not prepared for the power of the Night Sisters. Magical Force users spread throughout the armies of Mandalorians. Their magic had become far more powerful than the average Jedi's. It was fueled by Maul's rage and his connection to the dark side. The Night Sisters had shown Maul how to use their magic in exchange for his knowledge of the dark side. After the second year of the war, not many Jedi were left on Mandalore. They had once far outnumbered the already limited Night Sisters, but now they did not. However, Anakin and the 501st had done their job. They made it to Maul's castle. After they forced their way in, the clones and the Mandalorians break out into battle. Blaster bullets fly everywhere. Amidst the chaos, Anakin is exactly where he wants to be. He's with Maul and Opress. They skip the talking and dive straight into a lightsaber duel. Both of the Sith lash out against Anakin, who holds his own well. As the battle goes on, Anakin gets tired, but he finally sees a hole. In 2 clean swipes, he slashes through Savage Opress. This kills him instantly. But as Anakin turns his back to Maul, it's too late. Maul cuts Anakin down, and the 501st is left with no survivors. As Anakin is stabbed, the Force races through him. He thinks of his love for Padme, his hope for his kids, and he thinks of his old master Qui Gon. He knows this event was willed by the Force. On this day, the Jedi lost the war. In the following days, Maul led an assault on Coruscant, where he took over the Jedi Temple. Yoda was able to evacuate the remaining Jedi, and he sends everyone into hiding. He tells them the Force will find them when the time is right. Yoda knew the Jedi had gotten complacent and stuck in their ways. This is what led to their downfall. He could sense that the prophecy was misread. The Chosen One said to bring balance to the Force was still out there. Around this time, Obi-Wan and Luke arrive on Tatooine, where they set up camp in a dark cave. Obi-Wan looks at the boy with regret in his eyes. Darth Maul has killed your father, Luke. Luke grips his lightsaber tight and vows to become a great Jedi, just like his father. On Naboo, Ahsoka, Leia, and Padme leave and go into hiding. On that day, the rebellion was born. Luke trains under Obi-Wan, learning patience and restraint. Leia trains under Ahsoka, learning empathy and courage. Together, they are the balance their father never found. And even though Qui Gon lived all those years ago, the Jedi were always on the path to be overthrown by the Sith. They had gotten too complacent and arrogant to stop the power of the dark side. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe. More what ifs are coming very soon. And also, let me know in the comments, what would you like to see next? May the Force be with you.